You may be able to hear from the applause that we do have several people here in person this morning. And as I have mentioned in other weeks, you're welcome to make a reservation and attend in person. We have quite a bit of room, and you're welcome to wear a mask and socially distance. We do not have ushers, and we are wearing masks, socially distancing, and not passing offering, passing bulletins, greeting one another, singing, or doing those kinds of things. But we do have room for a few people to still come and be safe here in the sanctuary. But if you'd like to wear your PJs and sit at home, you're welcome to do that too. I hear it's a great thing. I'm going to try it one of these days. What comes to your mind when I say the word new? If I say that I want to talk about trying some new things today, what do you think about? What new things would you like to try? Would it be an activity like going to a new place or trying a new sport or some new adventure? Would it be a food or some kind of restaurant or trying Thai food or something exotic? Would it be a new place you'd like to go, some adventure you'd like to start, or a safari or a cruise to Antarctica? Would you like to try something new, like learning a new language, a new art form, a new skill set, a new exercise format, set a new goal? When you get right down to it, the word new implies something better. A new house, a new car, a new job, new clothes. They all kind of sound exciting and fresh. Something new creates a sense of excitement and even a little bit of delight in us. No matter how old in age we are, hopefully our spirits are young enough to continue to delight in the world around us. So I would challenge you to take a moment to think about the new things that you might find delight in. And if you're inclined, get a piece of paper and start a list right now. Seriously. Some of the things on your list might surprise you. Go ahead and write some things down while I'm talking. Some of the things might give you a glow of satisfaction when you think about them. Think about the things you would like to try, new things. They might be buried dreams from childhood, things that appealed to the childlike dream part of yourself, like riding on a fire truck, or helping in a hospital, or teaching in a foreign country. They may not be heady intellectual pursuits, and that's okay. They may or may not be ideas that your ego would deem impressive, and that's okay. Just let yourself put aside all ego and practicality as you make your list. Be creative. What are some new things you would find delight in doing? Let me tell you a story. Edward had a distinguished career as an orthopedic surgeon. He worked many, many hours. But at a certain point in his life, he found something lacking. And in his spare time, which honestly was little, he found himself to be without pleasure, bored even. And he wasn't entirely certain who he was outside of orthopedic work. So he began making a list of his interests from his past, and a word came up on his list. The word was fish. Feeling a bit idiotic, Edward decided to pursue this interest of fish, and he made an expedition to an aquarium store in his neighborhood. He just took a look around at tanks full of swordtails and another tank housing aggressive angelfish, and he found himself spending the better part of an hour looking at a tank full of tiny neon tetras. "Can I help you, sir?" a clerk asked. "Are you starting up a tank?" The question brought a thrill to Edward's heart, and he thought, I could start a tank. And he heard himself answering, "Yes, but I've never done this before. I don't even know what to start with, or what fish goes with what, or how to manage anything." "Oh, I can help you," the clerk volunteered. "Perhaps you'd like to maybe just get a beginner's pamphlet." "Well, yes, that sounds like a good place to start." And so he got the modest pamphlet, and he took it home with a little bit of glee in his heart. And after reading the tips for starting his first tank, Edward took an expedition to SeaWorld a few hours away from his home, and he found himself beginning to plan a small tank to have at his home. And already he could feel his personality and even a little bit of his life expanding beyond his practice. And it was this simple task of making a list of little interests that caused his heart to jump with a bit of delight. Our traditional word for today reminds us of some eternal truths that have lasted over thousands of years. It's from Colossians chapter 2. "Do not let anyone disqualify you, insisting on self-abasement and worship of angels, dwelling on visions puffed up without cause by a human way of thinking, and not holding fast to the head, from whom the whole body, nourished and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows with a growth that is from God." Today we're continuing our sermon series based on the book from Julia Cameron about reigniting our lives, and the theme for today is on humility. Julia Cameron notes that one of the biggest blocks to reigniting our lives is humility. What we want our dreams to be fulfilled. But one of the blocks to having that happen is that we want our dreams to be filled instantly and perfectly, instead of realizing that they need to be nurtured from the beginning, slowly and realistically. And she says that we have to risk appearing foolish and start with courage before we can realize our dreams, and that takes a lot of humility. As Theodore Roosevelt said, "The best thing you can do is the right thing, but the next best thing you can do is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing." There's no such thing as a time that is too late to begin a creative endeavor. Actually, creativity is a part of our spiritual DNA. It's a part of our spiritual DNA. Nothing that lessens or fades or disappears, because God created us to be creative. I love it that Ted sang for us today because he is very open and honest that he is more than 90 years old. And he still sings with joy and glee and gladness, and he dances and taps his toes and enjoys the creative effort of music. And I love when he sings because it brings him such joy, and he brings joy to us when he does it. My friend Nora, who lives in an assisted living facility and is 89, decided last year that she was going to become the unofficial activity director at her place. And she ordered a helium tank online and some balloons and started gifting balloons to people when it was their special day, tying them in the middle of the night, get this, on their doorknobs with cards that everyone had signed. And then she took dollar coins and started putting them around as little gifts anonymously as tokens to people that she thought needed a pick-me-up, as little signs that people had done something special. And then she put together welcome baskets for new residents with hand cream and WSU magnets and tissues. And then she started a walking group and a puzzle group. And then she got herself a little train whistle, and she walks through the halls blowing the train whistle and asks people to make a train behind her. And they walked through the halls, and they named all the halls, and they got little signs for all the hallways with Shocker Way and, Kansas State Hallway and KU Hallway, and then she made little signs. And then I helped her make a quilt of the coloring book pages that people had put together. I'm telling you, she has more spunk than most 50-year-olds. I quote, "If the antidote to fear is action, the way to take action and to outsmart, outrun, or avoid our fear is to make the action small enough, humble enough, that we are able to take it," writes Julia Cameron. And then she says that the biggest block to creativity is a lack of humility. Now, at first I was a little bit confused by what she meant by humility. But as I read on, I realized she was saying that we are afraid to reignite our lives because we don't want to appear foolish, and we want to be fulfilled instantly and perfectly, and we aren't humble enough to take a risk. Most of the people who become great in their field had to start out taking a risk of being a beginner by doing baby steps to learn their field. And they didn't start at the top, obviously. So to start reigniting our lives, we have to be gentle with ourselves as we gather the courage to name our new ideas, our dreams, or whatever we want to do to reignite our lives. It's common for things to try to block us or try to scare us out of trying the new things on our lists. I assume by now you've come up with 3 or 4 things at least on these lists of things you want to try. Fear, the unknown, a lack of courage. Even logic can convince us not to try something new. And then the what if questions. It takes a lot of humility to begin a new project, but it's worth it to begin. And it's satisfying to create, to allow ourselves to try new things. We have among us today new parents, Shannon and Marlo, and they've been parenting Felicity for quite some time now. But they have agreed to parent Felicity for a lifetime. This is a new relationship, and they have taken a plunge into a new commitment of parenthood that will last, trust me, I know this now, the rest of their lives. What a joy! had a challenge. I told them that our family has a hyphenated word for times like this. The hyphenated word is scary exciting. It's one word, and it encompasses the whole experience. Scary exciting. Reigniting your life is almost always scary exciting. Take a moment to look at your list of new things that you would like to try, and pick one of them to explore. What might be the first step of humility that it would require to start on that task? Helen Keller said, "I long to accomplish a great and noble task, but it is my chief duty to accomplish humble tasks as though they were great and noble." So every great accomplishment involves small, ordinary steps to get to the great thing. Trying something new usually requires asking for help. And rarely, I know this here and I know this here, it often asks us to be connected to another person, and that usually means we are connected to a higher power. When we ask for help, it requires us to be humble, and it connects us to a higher power. As we age, we like to think that we are more independent and self-sufficient. We like to think that we have everything we need. And trying something new can be a spiritual exercise because we have to start over with information and we take on a humble role again. We need other people when we try something new. So my challenge for you this week as you reignite your life is to reach out and find a mentor or a teacher and ask for help. It's a spiritual experience. Name a dream that sounds out of reach. Go ahead, in the private space of your home or in your mind, name it. Now allow yourself to name and take the gentlest first step toward your dream. This step should be tiny. The smaller, the better. And ask, can you try that tiny step this week? If you do, the first step will inspire the next and the next. Being humble will connect you to another person who can help, which will connect you to God and to your spirit. Amen.